Honorable Men Discord. James Gunn needs to stay off of social media. Let's talk about it.
How you see yourself is how you perceived. I see a man strong, gifted, head strapping, never down on his knees, begging. Gotta make a way, even in my darkest hour. Say the odds against me was new. I would never cower.
As always, welcome back to another episode. I appreciate everyone for stopping by. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and let's get straight to it. James Gunn, the new director of the upcoming Superman film, okay, which is starring David Corenswet. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. All right, starring David Corenswet. It's coming out next week, and the whole rollout for this film from the very first trailer. All right, let's take it back to the first trailer. When the first trailer came out, where it showed the dog, I believe. Yes, it showed the dog, and I think the dog was dragging Superman by his cape. The initial reaction that I saw online, people were interested. They were like, "Oh, this is different, having the dog," because all the Superman movies prior never showed Superman with his dog, right? So people were a little bit skeptical, but they thought this is a new take, and I think people enjoyed the fact that there was a new take. Then you have the fans that loved his work with Guardian of the Galaxy, right? So those fans immediately liked Gunn for his work. I'm sorry, Gunn, James Gunn. Those fans like Gunn for his work with Guardian of the Galaxy. But then the more trailers that were released, it seemed like it started to tank. People started, like the true comic book fans, the true Superman fans, started to really just thrash the movie, right? And now we have it where people are coming out speaking on James Dunn's history. I keep saying Dunn. James Gunn's history, excuse me. They kept speaking on James Gunn's history when he was with Marvel while doing Guardian of the Galaxy. Now, allegedly, he shot Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, and then he almost did not shoot 3 because of tweets that he made that were very peculiar in nature. And I didn't queue up the tweets. You could look into the tweets, but he said a lot of questionable things in his tweets, which caused the studios, the Marvel Studios, to decide that they no longer wanted to work with him. And he was temporarily dismissed, fired, however you want to put it. Then it's been said that the cast loved him so much that they vouched for him and was able to get him his job back, and then he was able to film Guardian of the Galaxy 3. Now, I actually like Guardian of the Galaxy. I like the way the film played out. He also shot the 2021 Suicide Squad. Not the first Suicide Squad with Will Smith, but the second one that had John Cena in it. And Idris was in it. One second. Idris Elba, right? John Cena, Idris Elba, Nathan Fillion, and so on and so forth. So that's his history. So first and foremost, before I even get into this clip, because the clip is very short, for those people who enjoyed Guardian of the Galaxies, or whether you enjoyed it or not, you should have known that he was going to completely reshape the Superman franchise. So there's a group of people who are upset that Henry Cavill wasn't picked up to continue his role as Superman. But it's a different director. It's not Snyder anymore. It's not Zack Snyder. So I don't understand why those fans felt as though Henry Cavill would have been picked up for this film, right? It's a different director. So in any event, the history of Gunn and his remarks on social media has been a roller coaster, and he can't help himself. So when I started off this video, I said he needs to be off of social media, and I mean it. You know, stick to your talent, which is directing, and hire someone to handle your social media. That's just a thought. I don't know why someone is not advising this to him. Maybe they are and he's just not listening. But he seems to be getting himself in trouble by the things that he's saying online. This particular episode is about what was said in the interview. So I'm gonna go to this clip and I'm gonna speak on it further. So let's get into it.
And obviously, you're active online. We've seen what you've had to deal with from time to time.
That's right. A couple little things.
A couple little things here and there. Was any of that infusing in here cathartic for you, or why did you want to incorporate Superman's responses that he has towards online criticism?
Well, obviously, I relate. Obviously, I relate to that. I do tune out most of social media, but every once in a while, there'll be somebody who'll say something. It's always the weirdest stuff. It's never what you expect. Some weird thing, and I go, God, that guy, and then I go, I think I might be getting upset about something a 12-year-old in India is saying. You know what I mean? I'm like, God, let it go. But I think that was really about, the whole scene, in fact, is about focusing on the personal human side of Clark and being able to see who he is in an interior way. And he is one of the world's best guys. He's so kind. He's always looking out for people in need, but he's not perfect. He's flawed. He has things that get to him. He has things that upset him. He can be a little bit too idealistic. He can definitely be a little too rash. And so I liked really getting to know Superman in that respect and allowing people who go to see the movie get to know him as a full human being, even though he's not exactly human.
Yeah. And obviously, you're...
So that went by so fast you may have missed it. First and foremost, any of you watching this, did you think that his remarks was racist? Right? Did you consider what he said about the remarks possibly coming from a 12-year-old, kid in India? Let me see if I can pull that back up real quick.
Cathartic for you, or why did you want to incorporate Superman's responses that he has towards online criticism?
Well, obviously, I relate. Obviously, I relate to that. I do tune out most of social media, but every once in a while, there'll be somebody who'll say something. It's always the weirdest stuff. It's never what you expect. Some weird thing, and I go, God, that guy, and then I go, I think I might be getting upset about something a 12-year-old in India is saying. You know what I mean?
All right, so I'm kind of split on this because I kind of understand what he was trying to say. The problem is he actually named he was more specific in saying like it could be an Indian kid in India. What he should have said is, I try to tune all the negative talk on social media out because you just never know. It could be some kid hiding behind a computer. It may not even be an adult. That would have been the appropriate way of saying it. You would think someone who was given the honor to shoot a movie of this magnitude, shooting a Superman film is not a small feat. They don't just give that to anyone. That's one of the biggest names in comic book history. And for those of you that actually collect comic books and are avid readers of comic books, please let me know if there's someone bigger than Superman in the comic book realm. I think the closest would be Batman, and that's still DC. I don't even think a Marvel character is greater than Superman. You might say the Hulk, but no, maybe Spider-Man. Spider-Man might be the closest thing for Marvel that's up there with Superman, but what do I know? I haven't read comic books in many years. But the point is that, so because he said that, here's where my thumbnail comes into play. It was said that the Indian community was considering boycotting his movie, which is the last thing DC needs to hear because they need this movie to perform. So, again, the same things that got him into trouble while with Marvel seems to be transpiring now with DC. So you would have thought he would have learned his lesson from what he tweeted when he was with Marvel. But I guess he didn't learn his lesson. But so in response to this, he did a little cleanup work. And here's James Gunn speaking about how Bollywood inspired him to make Superman.
First of all, I am incredibly grateful for the Indian fans, and I talk to you guys all the time online, and there's so many of you, obviously, and so many fans of Superman who love Superman, and he means so much to them. And that isn't lost on me when I'm making this movie about how much he means to the people of India, because he really is somebody who looks out for everyone. He cares about everyone on this planet. Every life is sacred. And he's somebody who brings us together and makes us more alike than different in every way. There's no difference between any of us, except for Rachel. She's really different.
Really different and really difficult.
Really difficult.
Yeah.
No, she's not difficult. Well, I mean,
Again, this guy needs to be he needs to be media trained. And I'm just an outsider looking at the stuff that you all are watching also, and I think he needs to be media trained. And again, this is a surprise to me that someone who has been given the privilege to film and direct the Superman movie is speaking like this. Again, even in this situation, to me, and you could by all means disagree with me if you want, the best approach would have been to apologize and say, listen, I'm sorry if I came across offensive. What I really meant to say is that you just never know who's behind the computer screen. You know, a lot of these comments could be coming from a teenager, a minor, you know, an ignorant adult. You just never know. So I shouldn't feed into the comments that's taking place in social spaces, social media. He could have said something along those lines, right? But instead he goes to say, it's like he tries to what's the word? Not appease, but it's we'll use appease for now, because for lack of a better word, I wanted to use a better word besides appease, but it doesn't seem genuine. It's almost like I found myself in real cringe-worthy moments where I've had old supervisors say, I have a black friend. It's on that same level. It's like, why are you telling me you have a black friend? What does that mean to me? Does that mean the things that you may have said to me are less racist because you have a black friend? And what does that mean? It's on that level. So him saying that, you know, Superman movie was inspired by, you know, Indian people, is just like, you're reaching. It doesn't sound genuine. But James Gunn will be James Gunn. I'm moving on to this next clip, right? And this is some of the stuff that he's had to deal with. And I can only imagine, as an artist myself, I know for a director, when you put together a big film with a big backing behind it, a whole studio, all the money that was spent to create the film, and having to hear what social media is saying, and maybe he tries to stay away from social media, but people close to him say, hey, have you heard what they said, what they're saying about you? It's hard. You know, welcome to 2025, when, you know, anything that you do is and you put it out there to the public, it's available to be scrutinized. But we're gonna get into this clip with this young man and what he's saying about the film, and we'll talk about it.
Oh, this Superman movie may mark the official death of DC as we know it, okay? Now, obviously, DC has been on life support for years at this point, but all the footage, which they've shown way too much of for Superman, but all the footage, the clips, the TV spots, the ads, and also the plot leaks for this movie, this film does not look good. It looks too much like an MCU-ified Guardians of the Galaxy team meets Superman kind of movie. That's what it is. It's a James Gunn movie. And because it looks so much like the current MCU slop that's being thrown out, especially visually with the CGI being bad, I don't understand how this movie is going to succeed at what it needs to succeed at. It needs to be a box office success, which again is one of the biggest fictional characters ever in Superman, and it's only slated to make $100 million domestically in the opening weekend. Really? Also, you have to revive a dead and fractured fan base with Gunn fans versus Snyder fans versus general audiences, which, you know, their interest in super movies is declining every single time a new one is dropped. This movie has to do all that while also setting up a brand new DC universe and being a genuine great standalone story and introducing this character of Superman to this new universe. It is not going to do all those things. You know that. I know that. So when this movie ends up not being a success, the question is, where does DC go from there? And I think that DC officially goes in the gutters and dies out. Oh, this Superman movie may mark...
Wow, harsh. What if it turns out that this was something that was a plot made by, I'm just throwing it out there, made by Marvel to sabotage this film because they weren't expecting James Gunn to bounce back as fast as he did? Well, no. I can't say that because he got a chance to finish Guardians 3. So that's a stretch. But what's your thoughts? You know, there's a saying, good publicity, bad publicity, they're both valuable. Something along those lines, the saying goes. What's your thoughts? I mean, with all this bad publicity, I'll be honest with you, it's not stopping me from purchasing a ticket. I'm still curious to see how this movie plays out. I can't just go off of what people are saying online, you know, because they might have ulterior motives. You know, from what I'm seeing, my personal take on the Superman movie is clearly different from the Zack Snyder Superman. Zack Snyder Superman took a grown approach to Superman, which I appreciated. It was, you can tell it was clearly made for the adult that grew up on Superman, and it was, you know, the fathers could bring their son, but it was a more mature. That's the right word to use it when I'm speaking on Zack Snyder's Superman. It was a more mature Superman. This one's taking it to the I want to say it's a mixture of everything. You know, it's not as mature obviously as Zack Snyder's, and not only that, but Zack Snyder's Superman was shot with a darker tone, had a darker feel to the movie, where this one is bright in color. It's like in your face. Characters seem more comic book. They seem like caricatures, if I'm saying that right? More like cartoon characters. They seem like in this film. They don't seem like serious. Even that big monster that he's fighting, that looks like, you know, I can't say I like that monster, but it falls in line with the images that James Gunn is bringing to film. You know, so I'm not gonna criticize it without seeing it. You know, I do have my worries about the film, but I still want to see the film. All the negativity that's out there in social media about this film, I still want to see it. I just still want to see it. I have to see it from beginning to end to have my own opinion on it. And maybe I will come back with an episode speaking on my opinion after some time has passed. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But what's your thoughts? Do you think this film is gonna tank? You know, for all we know, this film might be a success. But here's one thing I wanted to throw out. I want to make sure that I said this, right? With all the things that James Gunn has done wrong as far as speaking to fans, you know, on social media and arguing with fans in social media, saying real questionable things when he was working with Marvel, and even now when he made that comment, right? If this movie should tank, and I don't know if I'm the first channel to say this because I haven't heard it on any other channel. Obviously, there's a lot of channels out there, but why not give Ryan Coogler a chance? Would they ever give Ryan Coogler a chance? The guy is grand slamming everything he touches. That's just my opinion. And you could say, oh, you're biased, you know, you're just saying that because he's a black guy. Well, no. He's actually talented, just as James Gunn is talented. I'm not saying James Gunn is not talented. Don't, you know, let me make that clear, because I like Guardians of the Galaxy. And I did like the Suicide Squad, the second movie. Do I like it better than the first? I have to go back and watch both of them. But I do like what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, and he's clearly making Superman somewhat comical and lighthearted like Guardians of the Galaxy. But my question is if this movie should tank, unlike what this guy's saying about DC being, this would be the end of DC, I say give Ryan Coogler a chance. But then I don't know if he's locked in with, if it's a conflict of interest, because I think he still may be attached to Marvel, if I'm not mistaken, because he may be working on the next Black Panther movie, so that might be an issue. But if it isn't an issue, what's your thoughts on giving him a shot at shooting Superman? Excuse me. And I'm gonna take it one step further. This is gonna really make people get upset, right? What if they cast a black Superman? What's wrong with that? I'm gonna say one. I'm a double down. I'm a triple down on it. Give Ryan Coogler a chance, which I know is a stretch because he may be still attached to Marvel, right? Make it a black Superman, right? And here's how I triple down. Make it Michael B. Jordan. I said it. You heard it here first on Honorable Men Discord. And for those people who like how the two of them are like Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, Kobe and Shaq, Who else? Magic and Kareem, Stockton and Malone. Who else is out there? We'll stop there because I'm gonna run out of material as far as basketball. Uh, not matchups of basketball elite duos, right? But no, seriously, I say why not give it a chance? I mean, if DC is to tank from this movie, and not saying like how much worse can it get, that's not a reason to put Ryan Coogler in there. What I'm trying to say is, why not just try something completely different? If you think the fans are upset at where James Gunn is going with this Superman, imagine how upset certain fans might be at seeing a black Superman. It's never been done. You want to try something different, DC? You want to really throw that dice out there? Give it a shot. And I think you'd be pleasantly surprised because I think Michael B. Jordan playing Superman, he has the charisma. He's fit. So, you want to cast someone that, in the suit is going to look like a Superman. But aside from that, I think Ryan Coogler would bring something special to Superman. Storyline and everything. I think it would be amazing. And you could say, oh, you're just being biased because these are black actors and directors. Maybe there's a little bias in it, but I also want to see the film succeed. I want to see a good movie regardless who's casted in it. I could care less who's directing it, what their background is, what their nationality is. I don't care who's directing it. I don't care who's playing Superman. I just want to see a phenomenal film. And I'm saying, if this tanks, give Ryan Coogler a chance at some point in time. Maybe not right away, but at some point in time, give him a chance, especially if he continues to knock it out the park the way he's been knocking it out the park. But that's all I have on this episode. The last thing I was actually going to queue up and speak on, which I don't really know if there's a need to. One thing I can say in James Gunn's favor is you got to appreciate a director that's all in. When you go to his X page, which I have linked up here, he is all in. He's living, granted, he's the director, but he lives, breathes Superman. Everything this man has been posting is Superman. Now, you can say, oh, he's desperate because he's seeing what people are saying. He wants to make sure it sells. You could say that. But, for merch, everything, this guy, he's pretty much Superman like my thumbnail. James Gunn himself has become Superman with all these posts that he's doing. Everything he's posting. Every little thing he's posting. Behind the scenes. Look at that. That's an amazing behind the scenes clip that they got with the dog knocking things over. Behind the scene pictures. The emblem. Look at this stuff. The posters for other regions, other countries. All right. Press runs, Look at this photo in Brazil. Beautiful photo. And for me, that's what you want to see from you want to see, and I think I spoke about this on another episode. You want to see people that are all the way in with their passion. That's what I respect. I don't care what it is someone does out there, whether you play sports, whether you're a doctor, lawyer, engineer, scientist. I respect and appreciate people that are all in. Not the people who just do just enough to get by, but those that, he doesn't need to post. And who knows if he's posting, who knows if he's posting, but I could only assume he's posting because he's spending time on social media speaking to people. He definitely is. That's one thing he's known for. From me doing my research on this episode, he responds to people if you say something that he finds offensive to his film. He has that much pride in his work. He takes time out to respond to people. He's almost like the 50 Cent of film. And that just came to me. You see how 50 Cent responds to certain things? Well, James Gunn is just like that. To a degree. But look at this. Everything's Superman. Everything is Superman. He's all in. So you can't say, for those people who are thrashing the film as though he didn't do a good enough job without even seeing it from start to finish. The man clearly is, it is honored to have had the opportunity to shoot the film. So let's give it a shot. Let's give it a chance before thrashing the film. But that's all I have today. As always, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, tell a friend to tell a friend. Every day, daily, 5 p.m. episodes drop. Salute.